Hey, everybody out there. Again, with us today is Gerald Celente, famed trends forecaster, with reminiscences and some observations on the state of the country 60 years ago and today. We're talking about the 60th observation of the Kennedy assassination. And Gerald, you have a certain connection to that and to people involved with Kennedy, Connally, Governor Connally. Tell us about that.
Well, I wrote this book back in 1989, trend tracking, far better than Megatrends, Time magazine. And one of the trends I had forecast was that people wanted a new third party, just like today, by the way, because they're tired of the crime syndicate that's in charge. And I had forecast that someone like Ross Perot was the kind of person that people were looking for. So I get a call from a guy by the name of John J. Hooker, who used to follow me. And John J. Hooker's brother was the CEO of Hospital Corporation of America. And it's also the General Hooker, it was his great-great-grandfather or whatever back when, that brought the chicks to make the guys happy during the Civil War. That's how they got the name Hooker.
Right.
And so he put the meeting together. At first, I flew down to Nashville, spent some time with Hooker. Then we flew to Dallas to meet Connelly. And it was me, Hooker, Pat Cadell, who was the pollster under Carter, top pollster. He passed away just recently.
Right.
And Nellie Fox, who was the girlfriend of, this was the show that Hooker got Perot on, Larry King's girlfriend. So the four of us meet with Connelly. And I never liked Connelly. We're having lunch at the Anatole Hotel. And as he started to talk, I was embarrassed about myself. Every word he was speaking was a sentence, and every sentence a paragraph. This guy was really, holy Christ. And I kept cutting the other ones off because they kept interrupting him. And then Hooker says, well, John, we got the limousine waiting outside. Let's go to the book depository. So he said, let me go get Nellie, his wife. And we all get in the limousine. And it's Hooker, Cadell, me in the middle, Connelly in the middle across from me, Nellie Fox, and his wife, Fox and his wife, Nellie. So, Rama Fox. So he starts telling the story what happened that day. He said, I heard a gunshot. He said, we're coming around Dealey Plaza. He said, I know it was a gunshot because I've been hunting since I'm a little boy. And I looked to my right and I didn't see anything. He said, I was scrunched up in the front seat. They had jump seats back in those days. And I was holding a Stetson hat on my knee. Oh. I was wearing a dark blue suit. And I looked to my left and there were brains on my shoulder. He said, I knew there were brains because my daddy was a butcher. And then he said, I felt a pounding on my back. And the bullet went through his back, through his chest, through his hat, hand, knee, before he goes flying over. And you can see the video. Nellie throws herself on top of him. Then we go outside. This is their first time back since the assassination. The first time back. Here's the photo of me, him, and his wife, Nellie, in front of the book depository, 1992. Rama Fox actually took the shot. And we're going back into the Anatole Hotel, and everybody was in front of us, and he stops and he looks at me and he said, I read your book, Trend Tracking. He said, fine piece of work. And he said, I know your heart's in the right place. He said, well, you don't have a clue what's going on. And neither do the American people. Because if they did, there'd be a revolution in this country. This is the John Connally that not only was the Democratic governor of Texas, he became the Republican Treasury Secretary under Richard Nixon that took us off the gold standard. The guy knew a lot. we stayed in touch from then to February, from October to February, and then he died, I think, in April. I'm sitting across from him, I'm looking at his hands. And I said, how you feeling? Because I saw these big purplish splotches. I said, I'm not feeling good. He said, I have adhesions in my lungs from the wound. And they got me on prednisone. I watched my father, may his soul rest in peace, when they put him on prednisone. My dad worked in the shipyards during World War II, and he got asbestos poisoning. So I watched my father die like that. I knew he was checking out. I said to Hooker later, I said, man, this guy's going to go. He said, Gerald, how could you say that? I said, I've seen this picture before. And if you could see the picture of me and Connelly, you know, he's a tall guy. You could see him hunched over. He wasn't. And I just said about Nellie, if anybody watches the video, you see Nellie throws herself on top of him. That saved his life because the bullet rips through his lungs, right? And his hand's on it, and he goes flying forward. She throws himself on top of him. He said it took us about 12 minutes to get to Parkland Hospital. It usually takes about 20 minutes. As the motorcade came screaming in, there was a doctor that was taking a break and saw it. And he went running down to the emergency room. The doctor that worked on him was a thoracic surgeon. What saved his life was Nellie hysterically on top of him, because if her hand wasn't covering the wound, he would have suffocated. The air would have gone in through his lungs. So that's the Connally story. And here we are today. Let's go to anybody, go to all the New York Times, go to all the CNBC, CNN, Yahoo. See if they mention anything about Kennedy's assassination. You'll find nothing.
I've noticed that there, over the years, there's been diminishing coverage, in addition to the initial lack of curiosity right from the beginning about what really happened. The Warren Commission was a joke. There was never a proper investigation. Till this day, it's never been properly investigated. And so it goes, right? Par for the course with our government.
Yep. And let's go back. Trump promised to release the full documents of the Kennedy assassination.
Right.
And, you know, I do a podcast every week with Judge Andrew Napolitano, and Napolitano said it on the air. He said, you know, I called up Trump. Now, this isn't his exact words. And I said, how come you're not releasing the documents? You said you're going to release. He said, if you saw them, he said it would shock you. He said, I can't do it. And then Biden promised to release them, and he didn't.